Hello, and welcome back to the Spiderlair. On this channel, we like to take a prompt and make a character based off that prompt. I am your spooky host, Spider, and I'm very pleased to yet again announce that I have a guest on this channel. Super pumped, and not just any guest, but someone with an actual artistic title. Uh, we've got
My gosh.
Captain Blue. Say hello.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I went to 4 years of captain school for that name.
Yeah. Oh man. So excited to have you here. I love your art.
Thank you so
Obviously,
much.
blah,
I
blah,
love
blah.
your art.
No, you. No, you.
No, you. No, you. No, you. Speaking of art, do you want to talk about some of your process of thinking through this character?
Yeah, I think I would like to do that. Uh, so for starters, as people could probably tell by the title, our prompt this time was Candy Monster Hunter, which is your prompts, which I really loved this whole idea. I had some ideation sketches in the beginning, and I didn't spend too much time lingering on that when I was editing the footage together, because I was like, these are all garbage except for this one good idea I had. So I really wanted to get into this idea of candy camouflage for the Candy Monster Hunter. And once I went off that premise, I decided, because there's so many ways to interpret Candy Monster Hunter. Like, are you hunting monsters made of candy? Are you hunting monsters that eat candy? Are you candy? So there's a lot of different ways to go. I went kind of a more traditional Halloween-y route with a little kid who is in candy camouflage to try to capture a candy monster who I like to imagine's been stealing all the neighborhood candy. So I was gonna say that
I like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say she set this little trap, big pile of candy, ooh, lure the monster somewhere in the park. And then
he's defending her neighborhood. Oh,
yeah.
I want to watch this cartoon so badly.
Yeah, I see a comic.
I mean, tell me that wouldn't be a perfect thing to watch as a kid. Just a little animated short about some little kid having to fight off the evil monster that's been just stealing Halloween candy.
Mm-hmm. I love to think
it goes perfect with when I chose the prompt, because I guess I'd been so stressed that all of the Halloween things that I've been enjoying the most have been the cutesy side of Halloween, which is really interesting because a lot of people around me have been focusing on more of the nitty gritty kind of almost Bloodborne-y aesthetic of Halloween.
Oh no, don't watch the last week's video.
Yeah, no, I mean last week's video was awesome. Oh my god, it was
Ulstravec.
Yeah, I mean it was, well, first of all, that was so awesome, but my mental thought was all right, let's try and do something that was a little bit more lighthearted Halloween.
I love it.
I like the mix of both a little bit, so that you can have your terrifying, scary moments. You can go and you can watch your scary movies, but at the end, it's the you run around in your costumes with your friends, and you get candy from neighborhood houses and such.
Yeah, it's so wholesome. Just the idea of it. And I like anything that gets people in the mindset of my neighbors are my comrades. They're not scary. They're not somebody to wall myself off from. I love the idea of things like this where, kind of the mutual aid aspect of my neighbors are not my enemy. Not that some people's neighbors aren't, but we can all we've all had that one neighbor or several. But at the same time, it's some faith in humanity is restored. I feel on Halloween, instead of it being taken away for all the scary movies out there, creepy things happening on Halloween, it's all, at the end of the day, it's kids getting free candy from their neighbors and everybody having a good time. And, even things that are meant to be scary are just a good time. They're fantasy. They're kind of getting lost in make believe and pretend, and just kind of brings out the kid in people, even when you do, I think, have those heavier subjects or gory stuff.
Yeah, it's almost kind of reverse Christmas in the sense of Halloween is it's the scary holiday, but like the underlying kind of thing of Halloween is like, oh, like we all have like these feelings of fear. We all have these things that are like a little bit scary, and we all feel scared at times. But like at the end, like it's a celebration. It's fun. It's funny, and like at the end of a horror movie, like you're normally not like in some dire, kill or be killed situation.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the couch with your friends, and like it's all kind of a laugh at the end. Whereas Christmas can be like, oh no, like we have like this moment with our family and friends, but then like sometimes it will get like there's like the underlying consumerism and like the pressures of like, oh, like, well, you have to like buy all these gifts, and like, oh, the only reason why it's this big of a holiday is because it's like propped up by like America's need to. I mean, I'm talking from a very America-centric
Right.
perspective.
Well, yeah, we'll put a disclaimer on that at a time. Like we are in America talking about American things.
Yeehaw!
Ye friggin' haw.
But yeah, it is just. I don't know. It's interesting to like see the mental differences between the two holidays. Also, it's really interesting that like both of these holidays are like within like 2-3 months of each other, at least of
Mm-hmm.
like these kind of quote unquote major holidays. Unless we
Yeah.
have, are there any like there aren't any like big summer holidays that get like the gravitas of
I think they
like
try. I
Halloween?
think they try to make like 4th of July thing or something. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I think maybe just the nature of winter itself, how like
mm-hmm.
things get colder. It's like the end of the year. It feels like a big wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
Oh my
sense.
god! Side note, just I love how you do the shading on all like specifically the teeth. How like you cell
Mm-hmm.
shaded it, but then you added in that like little bit of noise. Like I keep telling all of my like concept art students, and I didn't put it in mind at all, but like
Mm-hmm.
I keep telling everyone like, hey, like make sure you put like little bits of noise in your paintings because it adds like it just adds so much visual interest. Oh
Mm-hmm.
wait, okay, question. I wanted to
Yes.
ask you, what are these little glowing orbs? Like these are the little like the little pumpkin jack o' lantern things, right?
Yeah,
The little pumpkin
I think
bags.
they have them at the dollar store right now where I live. It's you stick them in the ground. They're like for the garden, and the ones I've seen have a solar panel on top, like a little tiny one that powers them, so that during the day they get the solar power, and then at night they glow. So I was
Oh,
just gonna
that's
say it was
so
one of those
cool.
things. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, it's like a little hint of renewable energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
It's
Halloween
it's
is
a
just
image
it's
with
a
a
great
message.
time.
Yeah. Time to think about the environment, about clean
Yeah,
energy. Yeah.
think about the environment. Protect your environment and neighborhood from
Mm-hmm.
awful candy monsters.
Exactly. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
the idea of this character being just so vindicated and like, see, I'm gonna show everybody that the candy monster is real. Just
Also,
so such
I love
conviction.
that it's a pop gun.
Yeah.
That's like I like to imagine that like this character ends up like that the little kid ends up winning and
Yeah.
like but
Same.
like it like very like just scares the monster away like with the pop gun or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Like it's
Or
enough. Yeah.
it could be like an old narrative when like not an old narrative, but like it could be like, oh, you have to make friends with the monsters.
Oh,
And so like
interesting. I didn't even think about that angle.
yeah, oh god. I can't think of any stories like that off the top of my head, but I love me a good it turns out the monster was the fear all along.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah, I love it. Just horror stories in general are usually just some kind of allegory for something else, some kind of fear-based system. I think my favorite kind of ham-fisted metaphor is definitely like the Babadook, where it's just an allegory for PTSD and depression, where
yeah.
it's like you can't really like ignoring it doesn't make the problem go away. Sort of thing. You kind of have to like feed your monster a little bit day at a time. You have to like make space for it. You have to like be housemates with it. You have to be friends with it. Otherwise, it's just
Yeah.
gonna. The more you try to like push it away, the more it starts coming out in unforeseen ways and unintended ways, and it usually results in kind of lashing out at the people around you. So we're
Yeah.
all just operating from a place of, protecting ourselves from getting hurt again, or either that or trying to ignore things in our life that our big feelings, because they're like too big to handle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love exploring
Shout out
fear
to
in
big
general.
feelings.
It makes sense in certain situations to put it on hold. Like there's sometimes when you're like, well, I kind of have to do other things right now. I can't hold this big feeling. And like, I think even just acknowledging that a feeling's too big to hold is like a good place to start
Yeah.
sometimes.
And I mean that's why we have like holding spaces or like
Mm-hmm.
specific areas that are like times in our life that are like, okay, like now is time for big feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not gonna project these big feelings onto other people, because there's this idea that we need to always use the tactics that we at one point relied on to stay safe, especially as children, which is why I love like this piece. I love like anything pertaining to childhood, because I think we're all operating from inner children, like
Yeah.
whatever we needed to do to survive when we were younger. I think the phrase is something like, what helped you in the fire doesn't help you in the garden, or something like that.
Oh my, I'm gonna use that.
I got that from
Bringing that to
Gender Sauce.
therapy.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody go follow Gender Sauce on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I love anything, pertaining to uh childhood fears, and I love this idea of putting yourself in the place of, you can almost imagine what if as a kid I'd have had the tools to stand up to my fears. Like, I think everybody kind of fantasizes about that, which is what draws me to stories like the ones you might concoct about this character. But yeah, that's it. I had a friend help me with the values and the lighting a little bit, but in the end I like the final result. So let's
Yeah.
move on to yours. Why don't you talk about your
Oh gosh.
sketch and
Okay,
process a little
so
bit here?
I mean, I was just trying to kind of find general poses.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time I'd been like talking to a lot of like my I guess mentees about just general like concepts, or not general concept art, but just general kind of character design.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to just, I don't know, mentally emulate what my brain thought of was like, oh, this is like general kind of concept art.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I started with, I felt like this figure had something to it. And actually I wish I would have kept the line art sketchy. Like towards the end, I've been running into this issue where like
Mm-hmm.
the underlying sketch will have like so much energy,
Mm-hmm.
or at least I think it will have so much energy.
Yeah.
But then towards the end, like as I go to like try and finalize what all the lines look like the energy just like whoosh, it vanishes.
Yeah, you've just described the state of being an artist who does line work. It's a whole thing. Like, it's very, very common. There's just something about there's a lot that gets lost in translation when you get to the line work, and yeah, that is how some people circumvent it, is to just keep it sketchy and then focus more on like the rendering underneath. But yeah, it just depends on what you're going for sure. Because my lifelong quest is for my line work to be clean but retain the energy of the thing before, which was not easy. I'm 36 years old. Like, I
yeah, like we've been working at this for like a while.
time. Yeah. So all I can say is it definitely takes time, and I definitely wouldn't call your line work not energetic. You actually, I feel like, have of all my friends, have the most similar kind of
Wait, the most
process
similar
and
style?
and yeah, like I mean, because your line work reminds me of like line work of Spider's Past, which was still obviously amazing.
Oh my god, I get to I'm following in your path.
Following in my 8-legged footsteps. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send you a letter when you're about to grow your extra eye. Okay.
Oh my gosh. There's a Bloodborne reference. It's like Rom grant us
There's
eyes.
somewhere.
I need to play Bloodborne again. I have to steal my dad's PlayStation 4 to play it again, because I don't think it's on Steam anymore. Anyways, but talking
Yeah.
about this character specifically. I mean, first of all, mustache. I was like, yeah, I'm having fun. I'm gonna give my character big dumb facial
You
hair.
got it. You got it.
Yeah,
That's like
I mean, we got to.
that's like a Captain Blue staple.
Yeah, I mean, it's every character. This art is just an excuse. Um,
I
let's
feel
see.
like you look at every character and like, I don't know, could use a mustache or beard.
I mean,
I love it.
basically, I'm just like, oh, how can I fit some mustache or beard into this?
This
Because I
is
don't know, like
perfect.
it's just, I think like as like a face design, it's so like fun and kind
Mm-hmm.
of simple.
Yeah.
Not, I guess, like it adds a little bit more like shape variety to faces,
Yeah.
and it also like it gives characters that like it gives them that like masculine cool looking, it's like a little bit of like the male power fantasy when you're like, ah, like look how majestic and cool this person is.
Yeah. Oh, which reminds me. Oh, I was supposed to. I keep forgetting to ask people their pronouns at the beginning.
Oh
So
yeah,
he, him. Okay.
he him on this end.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. I already said they them in another video, but I guess
Yeah,
it bears repeating. I know what I sound
shout
like.
out to the Dembos in the audience.
But yeah, I love that. I feel like the mustache definitely fits here because yours has it really stuck to this vibe of like, I think of those hunters that used to use, they used to like hunt foxes and they would use bloodhounds and like pointer dogs. It's from a very
Yeah.
specific kind of colonial, era of like that kind of hunter that would be in like a Norman Rockwell painting, but like in Candyland, which I love.
Yeah, I tried to like bring some, because that's also been like a thing that I've been kind of grappling with, which
Mm-hmm.
is like being like an artist that kind of grew up in the South.
Right.
Like how do I reconcile all of these like kind of these the image of colonialism and like
Right.
the image of like, oh, the frontier is so cool, and oh, like
Mm-hmm.
all these old fashioned things are so neat and nifty, but like when you learn the history you're like, oh no, that like
It's quite awful.
like I can't glorify, like this is atrocious, I
Yeah.
can't. And I mean, that's actually a little shout out to the current project I'm working on,
Mm-hmm.
which it doesn't deal with like it doesn't really deal with like southern or like colonial imagery as much, but
Mm-hmm.
it deals with like how do we deal with like weaponry? Because like, I mean, as concept artists, I know
Mm-hmm.
we have to draw like swords and guns and knives all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a question that I kind of ask myself, which is like, these things are like super freaking cool, but why? Like why do we all like why do we always gravitate towards like guns and weaponry?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when like like factors can be really cool. You can make like a concept art of like bookcases for hours and hours and hours and hours on end,
Yeah.
but like all of the big fancy concept art, at least of like props,
Yeah.
always tends to be like guns, and characters tend to be like, oh well, this character's like a soldier or a hunter or a
Yeah.
fighter. And it's, I don't know, it's really it's interesting, and I'm trying to make art that helps me kind of deal with how to, I'm stuttering, dang it.
No, you're good.
But it helps me deal with how to think about these things
Yeah.
as a kind of 21st century, woke man. I don't even know if
Yeah.
woke is the right word. Just like someone who
Like
doesn't just,
conscious. Like, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cause okay, here's the thing, right? Is that even if you were like, okay, I'm not gonna draw weapons, I don't want to, this, that, the other thing. Well, it doesn't really do anything about the industry standard. So it's like a sticky wicket because, if you're like, hey, I'm not drawing weapons and I don't do that, you've now eliminated yourself from most concepting jobs, because it's like the fault is in our stars kind of thing where,
Yeah.
like, where does it end? Right. Because if you have people that are doing the hiring that are like, I need you to do these things. And you're like, well, I don't do those things. It's like, it would be different if all of us were questioning that. Right. But the fact that, like, they kind of see us as a dime a dozen, I'll just find somebody else that'll do it, kind of thing. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I like that you're thinking about that stuff and exploring it. And yeah, life is just a continuous learning process, which is what I love about, you and most people that I like is, you're just
Well,
kind of a
thank you.
constant student. I don't ever. I feel like I would worry if I really thought that I knew everything, or I thought that I had a good handle on just everything and how the world works and this, that, the other thing. I don't know if that's a great place to be, because usually the people who there's this point in learning where you start to become aware of how much you don't know.
Yeah.
And when someone's at that level of awareness, they do more listening than talking. They tend to, you know, not come down on the side of things of, well, this is like unequivocally how it is. Is that the other thing? And while I understand there are some hard lines to draw, that are valid, I feel like it's good to be open to the experiences of other people. You know, just because you haven't experienced something one way, it's good to listen. And I feel like that's definitely where you're at, and where most people I gravitate to are at, where it's kind of this forever learning process. And you know, I have friends that really like to teach, and it's like teaching is just a learning with a different name. Like, I think the best way to learn something is to teach it, you know. So
heavy agree.
Which is what you do, I believe, right? Don't you teach people? Like, you're a mentor?
Yeah, so I've been basically, our school has like a concept art club, because the school itself doesn't really focus too much on concept art. So we have like a little drawing club, and I'm the concept art mentee, or mentor. I'm the concept art mentor
as well. Yeah, that's the thing. Teachers are learners. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, kind of the Freudian slip that I feel like fits here. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I learn stuff from my students all the time. Like, sometimes they'll come to me with like thoughts and ideas on like art and like concepts, and they'll like totally knock me out of the ballpark, because I'll be like, oh, it's this, and they'll be like, oh, isn't it more like this? And I'd be like, oh shoot, like, you're totally right. I have to look like a teacher.
So
and I'm like, yeah, you know, you're right. That's a good point. And I can't say like, oh snap, I didn't think of that. Also, okay, really, really quick to interrupt this conversation, but how do you feel about the brushwork on this? Because I don't know how to feel about it. I got a new brush, and I was just trying to mess around with it and see if I could get it to work. I don't know if these brush strokes are too loose, unsevere. They don't make strong enough shapes. But how do you feel about the shading on this?
I feel like I liked when the rim light was a white. I don't have any qualms with the brush strokes themselves, like, at all.
Really?
I just feel like the rim lighting sort of matched the background too much when you took it from like more white to blue, like if this was in grayscale. But that's really the only thing. As far as the shading, I probably would have done more ambient occlusion, but I mean, he's like a soft palette candy colored person, so having a bunch of harsh shadows may not have like looked great, you know. I like.
You know what I could have done? I could have just snuck a ton of like heavy saturation into some of the ambient occlusion shadows.
Oh shoot, I always forget that that's a thing. Yeah, my friend was just talking about that. But it looks so good. I love it. I love that you used a candy color palette. I kind of wish I'd done that. Here's our two drawings together. Okay, well, Captain Blue, thank you so much for joining me. Your art is amazing. Love having you here. Where can people follow you and see more of your art on the internet?
So people can follow me at Captain Blue 32 at ArtStation. You can find me on Instagram at KingWalker the First. We'll put the links in the doobly-doo down there.
You know it.
Thank you so much for having me. That joke went on for too long.
Or just the right amount of time. You choose.
Exactly.
Comment below.
Comment below.
Well,
drive up the engagement.
Yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down. I don't care. Thank you so much for
having me on.
Yeah, just boost me one way or the other. But yeah, always a pleasure, and we will see you next time, because I'm for sure gonna have you on again, because this is way too fun. Say goodbye.
All right, bye, y'all.
Bye.